Hello, this is Edith Newmeyer, and I am the author of the book, The Mystery of Adam. Today I want to talk about an interesting topic. I was looking at something somebody wrote, and she was saying, people do not understand the Bible is about Jesus and Israel. And I was just like, don't understand that part very good. Maybe I didn't have a chance to respond to it and say, hey, please explain this. But my question is really, is the Bible really about Jesus and Israel? Well, yeah, the Bible is definitely about Jesus, right? And part of it is, of course, Israel. Um, but again, who is Israel? That is the question, isn't it? Because so many people confuse true Israel with biological Israel. Now, it's very obvious if we're listening to the teaching of Paul that when we talk about Israel, even in the Old Testament, we talk about the spiritual Israel. It is not about biological. Yes, biological is important, but only to a certain point. Biological Israel is important because it was promised to Abraham that there's going to be a seed coming out of his descendants, and that seed will be what? Jesus. And that's the main point. That's the main point about biological Israel. He promised that from Israel, from Jacob, comes the seed which will produce Messiah. And of course, then we are ending up at Jesus. Jesus is that Messiah that was promised to Abraham. It's not the all biological descendants of Jacob or or Abraham that are important. It is the seed of Abraham that was important, which is Jesus Christ. So then after Jesus Christ, who comes out of the biological descendants of Jacob, but not all of them, only one, Judah was chosen. Okay, remember the first three sons of Jacob were not chosen for that lineage. Reuben, I believe, is the firstborn, and he had sex with his father's concubine. So he was ruled out. Levi and Simeon, I believe, are the next ones. They were ruled out because they were killing people willy-nilly. Okay? And so they didn't get this heritage as well. So the next one went to the fourth one, which was Judah. So Judah inherited that right to bring forth the seed, which is, of course, Jesus. And yes, they did that. Judah did that. They brought forth. But that was their task, and that was it. Okay? We know that God did not concentrate on Israel because Israel, he knew from the beginning that Israel would um, worship idols and fall to the wayside, and he would have to divorce them. He was always very much interested in spiritual Israel. Spiritual Israel, as in Isaac's son. Isaac, who was the son of faith. He was not necessarily biological, he was the son of faith. And Isaac became the example of the children of Abraham by faith. Now, I don't understand when you're studying Paul, I don't understand why people can be misled. I just do not understand it and why they would talk about such nonsense. Okay? We know that Paul picked up this idea about Israel and Israel being um, the spiritual Israel. And we know about that. We even know, no matter where you're going in even the Old Testament, You need to get to this point, to this understanding that they were talking about a spiritual Israel. Ephraim becomes this leader of Israel, Ephraim, okay, and he becomes the example of the father of many nations, not just you know, Hebrew descendants, but all the descendants of the believers. So, what is the Bible about? The Bible is not about Jesus and Israel. The Bible is about Jesus and the bride. And that is all there's to it. Ephraim becomes actually this example of the bride of Christ. Okay? Everybody in this world, all the believers, no matter what nation, what race, what nationality, whatever, everybody has the right to become the bride of Christ. And when we go to the last, let's see, when we come to the last book in the Bible, which is what? Revelation. And we have been talking about Revelation now for a while, but I'm going to just jump to Revelation 22 because it becomes again very obvious. I mean, all through Revelation, what becomes obvious? Not Jesus and Israel, not Jesus and the Jews. What is becoming important? When Jesus came, he established what? He established the church. And the church is also God's temple. And that is from John's teaching, Paul's teaching. You don't read Paul and study Paul. There is no sense in anybody becoming or saying that they are Christians at all. Okay, this has nothing to do with being Jewish or Messianic Jewish or whatever. This has to do all with being a Christian. And Christian means no matter whether you're a Jew or you're a Gentile, you are a follower. You are the bride of Christ. That's what Christians are. And they're the church and they're also the temple of God. And I know people, there are so many false teachers out there that are trying to tell you you have to become Jewish or whatever in order to become God's people. God's people are all put together in the church. From the beginning of time, Adam and Eve, who believed that God would provide the Messiah, they are part of the church. Every believer of the Israelites, every believer of the Jews, every believer, when we look at the descendants of Abraham to Noah, all the believers are in the church. All the descendants from Noah, I love to look at the lineage from Noah to Abraham. All those believers are part of the church. Abraham is part of the church. All believers are part of the church. Now, are all of Jacob's children part of the church? I am not 100% sure. Yes, they believed in God, but did they truly follow God? I don't know. I'm not going to be the judge of that. But not all Israelites were believers. I'll tell you that for sure. Because again, by the time the Israelites left Egypt, they were already major idolaters. So they were idol worshippers. And when they came into the wilderness, they continued this idol worship. Why? Because they already were used to it. They didn't just do that because, oh, I remember what they did in Egypt and maybe we should be doing. No, because they were doing it in Egypt, period. We don't hear about that, but that's the way it is. They already knew it. It was easy for whoever um, uh, tried to deceive them to build this calf. Uh, um, it was easy for that person to do that. Why? Because they were already doing it and practicing it. And God was so tired of the Israelites right then and there, and he would have destroyed them, would have not it been for Moses to plead for the Israelites. And he gave them a chance. He gave them another chance and put them under the law. But what did they do? They rebelled again. They were in the promised land for a little while. God said, if you are not abiding by my laws, you're not abiding by my laws, you're not following me, I will kick you out. I will kick you out. He told them all the things that would happen to them. And they forgot. They didn't listen. They didn't care. And so they went back to idol worship. And what did God do? First, he destroyed, or he had 10 tribes totally dispersed. Okay? And he divorced them openly. He divorced those 10 tribes that were falling away with Ephraim, and never to return. Never to return. Why? Because God was done. So if God was done with them, why would Israel still be important to God? Or is Israel really the spiritual Israel that is important to God? Not these people that continue to idol worshippers, those idol worshippers, but the ones that are truly following God's commandments, and following Messiah, and looking for Messiah. And there was always a remnant that was looking for Messiah. When we look at Jesus' time, there was a remnant. There was Mary and Joseph and Zechariah and Elizabeth and the prophet and the prophetess in the temple that were looking for Messiah. There were people that were looking for Messiah during that time. There were few, very few, compared to the Pharisees that were closed-minded and they didn't want to see Messiah and that killed Messiah. There was a small remnant. And that was a small remnant from all of Israel. There was only the tribe of Judah and Benjamin at that time, okay, left over. Please keep that in mind. Some people just don't want to think, do they? They don't want to do research. They don't want to know about history. And they just babble things. And I don't know where in the world they're coming up with this stuff. But I guess they do. And they listen to false teachers. People, you need to really investigate things. I have done lots of stuff on my YouTube channel about the history, and I investigate a lot about Messiah because I want to do a second book on the second Adam, the mystery of the second Adam. And it is truly a mystery about the second Adam, which is, of course, Messiah and his bride. Okay? It's not Messiah and Israel. It's about Messiah and the bride. Unless you're saying Israel is the bride or the church or the temple of God. If you want to say that, that's great. But most people do not talk about Israel in that same way. Most people, when they talk about Israel, they're talking about biological Israel. Biological Israel is over, period. And I'm going to say that right now. And people may say, well, you are anti-Semitistic. No, I'm not anti-Semitistic. Okay? I'm not an anti-Semite because I don't even know if I'm Semite by biology. Okay? If you talk about Semites, you need to go back to Shem. Okay? Shem and all the descendants of Shem. Those are Semites or Shemites. So if you want to do that, you go ahead and do that. But under Shemites go a lot more people than just the Jews. We are probably most Arabs are Shemites today. Probably plenty of what we consider Arabs or Muslims are Shemites. So I am not against any Shemites, and I'm not going against Semitism. I'm not even against the Jews, for that matter of fact. But I am speaking out the truth. The truth is that we are all children of God, and we are all able to follow Messiah. And we are all looking for Messiah. And if you're not looking for the Messiah, I guess you can't call yourself a Christian anyways. So Again, at the end, I want to go to Revelation. If you do Revelation, it's all about Christ and the church. And you think you don't see it, well, you have to just really look at it. Okay? Here it says, John, and I'm going to start with Revelation 22:6. The angel said to me, these words are truthworthy and trustworthy and true. The Lord, the God who inspires prophets, sent his angel to show his servant the things that must soon take place. Now again, soon take place. We're here listening to John saying what will take place soon after John was living. Look, I'm coming soon. Blessed is the one who keeps the words of the prophecy written in this scroll. And we're talking about Revelation. John, I am John, the one who heard and saw these things. And when I had heard and seen them, I fell down to worship at the feet of the angel who had been showing them to me. But he said to me, don't do that. I am a fellow servant with you, with your fellow prophets, with all who keep the word of this scroll. Worship God. Then he told me, do not seal up the words of the prophecy of this scroll, because the time is near. Let the one who does wrong continue to do wrong. Let the vile person continue to be vile. Let the one who does right continue to do right. And let the holy person continue to be holy. Look, I am coming soon. My reward is with me, and I will give to each person according to what they have done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last, the beginning and the end. That's exactly what is stated at the beginning of Revelation. Blessed are those who wash their robes, that they may have the right to the tree of life and may go through the gates into the city. Outside are the dogs, those who practice magic arts, the sexual immoral, the murderers, idolaters, everyone who loves and practices falsehood. Okay, so who are the dogs? Well, guess what the Jews call the Gentiles dogs? No, we are not the dogs. Okay, when we wash our robes, okay, that is being washing your robes with the blood of the Lamb. Okay, then we have the right to the tree of life and may go through the gates into the city. The city is the New Jerusalem, not the Jerusalem here on earth. Okay, that Jerusalem is nothing. It's nothing. We are talking about the city of Jerusalem that Jesus is building right now. That Jerusalem that Abraham was looking for. Okay, not the local, the three-dimensional one. Okay, so remember that. Outside are the dogs. Who are the dogs? The dogs are those who practice magical art, sexual immorality, and the murderers and falsehood. I, Jesus, have sent my angel to give you this testimony for the churches. Okay, now this is not at the beginning, this is at the end, 22. Now I said these things overlap, and I really believe this again goes back to the beginning. That's what he says at the present when John sees, or after even the John saw the vision, and he went into the future, and now he's back standing there. And what is he talking about? He's talking about the church, the message he has for the churches. What churches? The 7 churches, the church age that Jesus mentioned himself. Okay, the time of the Gentiles, as he mentioned it. Okay, so this is the testimony for the churches. I am the root and the offspring of David and the bright morning star. Okay, so he is the offspring of David or Judah or Jacob or Abraham. Okay? That's who it's all about. The bright morning star. It's all about Messiah. And who is Messiah talking about? Israel? No, he's talking about the churches. He's talking about his church, period. The Spirit and the bride. That's 17. The Spirit and who? The Spirit, the Holy Spirit, and the bride say, come. And let the one who hears say, come. Let the one who is thirsty come. And let the one who wishes take the free gift of the water of life. Okay? You understand that? This is all what the whole Bible is about. Not just the New Testament, but the Old Testament as well. It's all about Messiah and his bride. Remember, in my new book, I'm going to write about the second Adam. And who is the second Adam? The second Adam is not only Jesus. He's not only the bridegroom, but he is the bridegroom. I mean, not the bridegroom, but the bride and the bridegroom. So the man and the woman is combined in that first Adam, and it's combined in that second Adam. The bride and the bridegroom together, or the bridegroom and the bride. Okay? They are together one. And that was the whole purpose of all this history. Not Israel. Israel had a part in it. They had to play their part. But spiritual Israel who is the church, who is the temple of God, who is also the bride of Christ. So anyways, I think I had to say that even though I am not in Revelation 22 yet, so I will be talking about that again. But I believe that Revelation 22 also, of course, overlaps. It's not at the end of everything, but it's at the beginning, right there, where John was when he had the vision right there. He saw that, and he saw the Alpha and Omega. He saw the big, the first, the one who calls himself the first and the last. He saw the Lamb right there. The beginning and the end, who is called. He saw him right there, and he was prophesying what will happen, in the past. So it is interesting again that Revelation kind of overlaps quite a lot. Okay, so I had to say that because you know what, people need to wake up, really. Again, people, there are so many false teachings out there, and just be aware. Just be aware and research things. People are trying, Satan is trying to really, really deceive us majorly. And he is trying to deceive us majorly through this state of Israel. They have stolen that name. Really, they shouldn't have that name. Israel should be called maybe Judah, if you want to call it Judah. Because that's what it is. It's supposed to be Judah. Only Judah and Benjamin is left over. Israel is not even left over. Nobody knows who is an Israelite. I don't know how they're going to ever find an Israelite. They all lost their identity. And they all became either Christians or Muslims. So it's just very difficult. And so they're telling you these little stories and are trying to mislead you. Stay with Jesus. Stay with Jesus if you are part of the church. And I'm not talking about part of any church, like, any denomination. No, if you're part of Jesus, the Messiah, if you his bride, part of his bride, then stick with that. Okay? Stick with it and don't let anybody deceive you. Again, let the Holy Spirit guide you, because the Holy Spirit is the most important thing. If you don't have the Holy Spirit, people can deceive you. I'll finish up today, and I will talk to you sometime later about more about Revelation.